Hey everyone, it's really good to be back with you guys again. I hope you're enjoying your summer. Hope it's going really well. Hope you're having a little bit of extra time to sew and maybe travel. And now's the time that we're eating a lot of good vegetables from our gardens. It's that time of the year when you go to church, you better lock your doors or you'll have a boatload of zucchini and yellow squash and cucumbers in your back seat. I've been receiving generous donations of those things, and so I've canned a couple batches of bread and butter pickles, and I've also been able to make a batch of fresh peach freezer jam, and we love that. So we're having a good summer. Pretty soon it'll be time to can some applesauce and then freeze limas and corn. But first we'll be traveling to Ohio this coming weekend. My niece is getting married out there. It's my first niece to be married, and so we'll be looking forward to that celebration. It's also time to talk about our future plans for our Block of the Month classes. Unless something really drastic happens, we are planning to be meeting in person for our September Block of the Month. Yay! I know I'm very excited about that. So what we'll plan to do is, if you guys would call us, we're going to add some class time slots to the Tuesday class and to the Saturday class. So we'll let you know more details, and we'll probably have at least 4 classes on Tuesday and maybe 4 or 5 on Saturday. We'll spread out. That's what we're after. So good news for that. And also, we are picking out our new Block of the Month pattern that will be starting in November, and we hope to unveil that in the September class as well. So a lot of exciting things are going to happen in our class in September. So let's hope and pray that we can meet together more like normal. Now, as you can see here, we have 9 blocks that are already completed. I'm so proud of you guys. I hope everybody is staying on target for that. So we have 9 of them done. Today is our 10th. That means we only have 2 more to go. So let's go ahead and dig into our 10th class. And that class today that we're going to be looking at is the Card Trick Star. It's a lot prettier on the front of your pattern. You can see your color changes better. So take a look at it on that, and then get your page 8 ready, and we'll get started. Okay, so when you receive your kit, you will have a rectangle of each color. It is important that you know which color is which number. So looking at your color chart, you will see that color number 1, you need 2 2.5-inch squares and 2 3.5-inch squares. So on color 1, this is your color 1. On your fall, it's gold, the light tan for the neutral, the real light gray on the red and black one, and the light blue in the blue colorway. So I laid out a pattern so you can see how to cut out. So on color 1 and on color 2, that is what you need. You need 2 3.5-inch squares and 2 2.5-inch squares. So this is how you lay that out. Then on color 3 and color 4, you're adding that you need to cut a 2 1.5-inch squares on each of the color 3 and color 4. And I want you to make sure and take a good look here at what we've chosen for color 3 and color 4. Okay, so you can see this is the color 3 choices in all of the kits. This is the color 4 choice in the kits. And here's number 2. So you will be cutting then from your background 8 4.5-inch squares. And those will set in the corners, and you'll also need them to complete the outer portion of your block. So remember, this is how you're going to lay out what you're cutting. Just look at that real carefully. And if you choose to change your colorway around, you certainly may. You'll just need to dip into your fabric at home. So that's the kit portion. Alright, so now that we've got everything cut out, she starts off with drawing your diagonal lines. You'll draw diagonal lines on all of your 1.5-inch blocks, all of your 3.5-inch blocks, and then just of the 2.5-inch squares, just color 3 and color 4. So let's establish our colors here. Here's color 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since these are the 3.5-inch squares, I've gone ahead and drawn diagonal lines on all of these. Here are the 1.5-inch squares, so I've drawn diagonal lines there. And of the color 3 and 4 of the 2.5-inch squares, we went ahead and drew a diagonal line. Now you're going to go ahead and take your color number 3, 1.5-inch square, and set it on top of color number 2. And you'll see, watch your diagram. You will lay it on the top left corner and snowball it. You'll do a lot of snowballing, so it'll probably make you remember Lori Holt's patterns. We did a lot of snowballing there. So here's a snowball using color 3 and color 2, as she talks here in the first portion of her directions. Remember, when you are sewing here, stitch to the side of the line where you're going to trim. And I always like, if I'm in question, I know I'm going to trim this off, so I'm just going to draw an X on this mark, so I know that I'm going to sew just slightly to this side of the line, and that will get trimmed. So let's go ahead and do that. You will do 2 sets of this. Okay, so we've snowballed our 2.5-inch square using color 2 and color 3. Now she says to place a 2.5-inch square that matches the 1.5-inch square that we used to sew. So we need to make sure that our 2.5-inch block matches this ear, and you can see on the diagrams how you want to place it. You want to place your drawn line from the top left to the bottom right. Now let's make sure that we understand which one we're going to cut away. You can see here in the order of her diagrams, you will want your block to look like that. So this is the side that's going to get cut away. So I like to X that side, so I know that I'm going to sew just slightly on this side of the line. When I do that, I also like to make sure when I'm finished sewing that if I need to trim it down back to a 2.5-inch square, I do that as well. So let's go ahead and sew from this corner to this corner, and we're going to trim 1/4 inch from the seam, and our 2.5-inch square should look like that now. So here we have our first 2.5-inch finished block. And again, we went ahead and trimmed off that portion. I like to press my seams open. So we have the bottom square of 3 and then kind of an odd shape of color 2. Now you will have 2 of these, and then you will do the exact same thing with color 1 and color 4. You'll snowball the 2.5-inch block of color 1 with a 1.5-inch square of color 4. And then you will take color 4 and we will put the line again from the top left to the bottom right, sew on there, cut it off, and you'll have one exactly like that, but in the color 4 and color 1 combo. So we'll go ahead and sew this up and put this on so we have a second one like this. So now we have sewn our 2.5-inch squares together, and they look really, really strange. This is your color 4 and 1 combo, and this is your color 3 and color 2 combo. I went ahead and sewed the others together, and if you'll look here at this particular portion of your instructions, you will see how this is color 3 and 2. So you want to stitch that together with your 1 and then your 4 portion here. So you'll know that since your colors need to be opposite, that is how you're going to sew these two together. I'm going to sew this seam together, 1/4-inch seam, so that I've got my cards going kind of in a circle, and you'll be able to see it better once we get it further along. But for now, I'll sew this seam just like I sewed this seam, and then we're going to stitch this seam here, so this will make the inner portion of your 12.5-inch block. So let's lay that aside a little bit, but I also want to say that you'll also, while you're at the machine, you're going to go ahead and take a color 4, 3.5-inch square and lay it on a background on the lower left side. Here's your line. I don't know if you can see that very well on this dark one, but I've got a line here and on my color 3, so I'm going to take color 3 and color 4. That's the 3.5-inch squares. Lay it on my 4.5-inch background and stitch again from here to here and here to here. This is the side that's going to get trimmed, so I'm going to X that. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this together and sew these as well. You will have 2 of this set and 2 of this set. So now we have our 2 sections of our middle part of our block, and we're going to sew these 2 pieces together. I like to go ahead and pin so that I'm matching my 1/4-inch here and here. So I'm going to flip it over and pin through my points on this side and match it on this side. So very carefully we'll pin that. And then we'll do the same. Keep it straight here on the top and the bottom. Pin this one as well. And I'm also going to show you what we'll do next at the sewing machine. So we've gone ahead and done sewn our next snowballs on our backgrounds. So on color 4, you're going to take then your color 1 and set it on the opposite corner. We're going to sew diagonal to diagonal. This is the portion that's going to get cut. So we're going to X there because this is what we're looking for. And then we're going to take color 2, lay that on the bottom right as well. And that's what this one is going to look like there. So we're going to go ahead and X here. So I'm going to stitch again just on the right side of the drawn line, and then square it up to my 4.5-inch block. And we are getting through this. Right. Okay, so here we have our middle section of the star sewn together. Opposites, our colors are all opposite. We have our other portion of the middle section. Again, we're opposite here and opposite here. We've trimmed away, we've squared up. So now what we're going to do is sew these seams here. I've already sewn my top piece here. And so let's go ahead and sew this seam, and then we'll go ahead and put this one together just like this one. And then I'll show you what it's going to look like when we sew these two seams together. But first, let's sew these two. You do have, you will want this to seam so that this piece here and this piece come together and they match. So that's what you're going to have to watch. So I would pin that spot really well, and you're going to have the same thing up here. So you're going to want to match. Let's just pin it right now here. 1/4 inch in from your edge. And here's your 1/4 inch. I'll pin that good. And do the same thing on this side. So that is the one you do want to match. Okay, so once we have these pinned, we are ready to sew these seams. All right, ladies, we are almost finished. So we have 2 more seams to go, and you're simply going to match, pin here and here. And as I noted, this is where you want to watch. You want that to be a straight line and this to be a straight line, because that's what's going to give the card display. So let's go ahead and sew this seam, and sorry, I had to grab my pins. Go like this, and see here, we're going to pin and match this seam right here. And before you get to this point, make sure you are measuring that this strip here should be 12.5 inches long, 4.5 inches wide. If you need to do some ripping out, make sure you do that ahead of time before you sew this seam and find out that your square is not 12.5 inch. So again, we're matching that. So I'll pin this one here, and then we'll come back with the finished product. Okay, so here we are with our final block. I should have mentioned, when you sew this horizontal seam, this one and this one, you do want to watch this so that it matches, as well as these, your corner points and this seam here, and then this one as well with here. But as long as you continue to measure, like make sure that this square is 4.5 inch before you sew it to your 4.5 inch background blocks. Just make sure that every one of these are 4.5 inches before you attach them to the next part. And like I said before, we are looking forward to having you come in person in September. We will be sending out the extra times that will be available. We'll send that information out, and you can call and let us know when you want to come, and we'll try to keep it fairly small. So best wishes with the card tricks. Again, if you have any questions, just call ahead. My schedule's kind of not very, I don't have a set schedule right now, so just call ahead, and I'll try to help you as best as I can. Enjoy August, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.